Did you bring some fish?
That is quite logical, Captain.
Where shall I strike?
Test your might. Test your might.
Get it out! Get it out!
Test your might. Test your might.
Your mother was a murderer! You smell like a leopard! You are not prepared!
Hello, everybody, and welcome once again to the Geek Card, episode 129. And this will be a very special episode, but first, a very special person must join me. So, hello, Robbie Glow.
Hi.
We are going to have a Avengers Infinity War post-Endgame shakedown. That means, in case you hadn't clocked, this will be very spoilery. This will all be spoilers, all of it. So if you haven't seen the film yet, it would be a much better idea to stop the podcast and go and see the film. Unless you're listening to it while you drive or something, in which case that could be dangerous. Don't do that. But yes, the one topic today will be the Avengers and what we thought of it, and the two films as one piece of storytelling. But first, Robbie, how was your geeky week?
It was pretty much just WoW and the Avengers, and as we're already going to be talking about one of them, the other one is just going to be a quick. We did Mythics, and we didn't have a raid.
That's true. We didn't have a raid. You may have done Mythics. I nearly didn't do any Mythics because I was busy at work a lot.
Oh my god! I just remember getting text messages from you saying "goofed up at work again."
Yeah, I'd done bought something.
Oh dear. No, it seems to be like I don't know what was happening this week, but it just seemed to be a massive lull in WoW because either I know in our guild we had someone that was looking for a new job, we had you at work, and we had me not feeling well. So there was something about this week where we just almost didn't make it, but we managed to get some mythics done in the end.
Yeah, I think I got just one done on one. Oh no, I did two. One on one character, one on the other. So we'll see.
Yeah,
and then the next raid we have, I'm tanking it, which is going to be interesting.
How do you feel about that?
I mean, I'm quite relaxed, but I know that there's some mechanics that I've just because I worked when we've been healing it, I've just never had to worry about. So there's going to be mechanics I suddenly have to go, oh yeah, shit, I have to worry about that now.
Yep.
So yes, that's going to be fun. Otherwise, my geeky week has been a lot of work stuff, a lot of Linuxy stuff, which is very geeky, really. It does qualify, but probably not very entertaining. Although I have spent today chasing crypto mining malware around a server, that was irritating to say the least because it kept replicating itself. So I'm pleased to report that has been nipped in the bud, but that's a stressful way to spend your whole day. So tonight we're just going to punch internet dragons in the face. I've decided.
Pretty much. Yeah.
But first, let's talk about Avengers.
Yes, let's.
So, what did you think, sir? Let's have a general opinion of the how they rounded everything out, and then we can go into some specifics.
Okay, I'm going to start off with a little bit of criticism just for the very end of the end game. So there is a scene where first of all, there's this whole timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly stuff, which we're going to get into at some point. That was a bit fun. Not. But at the end, there's a little bit where Captain America's like, oh, I'm going to go back and do some stuff. And we're like, oh, okay, he's going to go back and do some stuff. And then he's just going to magically reappear because quantum, right? And he didn't. And everyone's like, oh, what did he do? And then it pans over and then there's this old man sitting on a bench. and it's Captain America having lived a life as he had intended to do. When we're like, oh, that's very sweet. Except, is it just me, or could they have done that in a different film?
They could have, I guess, but then that means they have to pay a very expensive actor another salary in order to do that movie. So it's quite an expensive thing just for one plot piece.
I don't know. I guess when there's like a handover on a superhero name, I just don't like it when it's just like sort of almost an afterthought.
So I have an interesting theory on that. So we know, and we've spoken about on this show before, that WandaVision, as I loathe to call it, is and that, by the way, is potentially a placeholder name, as this film made clear. But WandaVision is a show with Scarlet Witch and Vision, but Vision didn't feature at all in Endgame. But when Captain America goes back to put the Soul Stone somewhere, I wonder if he's going to go back and put it on Vision's head. Like, go back to the moment when they were installing it in Vision when he was still an android. And then we will actually see Captain America again one more time in the pilot episode of that TV show, where he sort of hands back the stone to allow Vision to exist. So that's my theory on when we'll see Captain America actually back in the suit, and they'll make a big deal about, he's putting the suit on for one last time to get people to watch the show.
Because it's like, we need a hook to get into the TV series, or else it's going to flop.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The other one that I found very interesting while we're talking about the Disney Plus stuff is Falcon and Bucky might actually be a placeholder name for the fact that the new TV show is going to be about the new Captain America, which I think could be excellent. But yeah, we'll have to see where that one goes. But I think the ending of this film did set up those TV shows in really interesting and unexpected ways. So.
I mean, apart from that little bit that irked me, the rest of the end was pretty. It wasn't as upsetting as I thought it would be. It was a pretty kind of nice end to it. But I went with a group of friends, and someone pointed out quite quickly that the whole Endgame film could have easily been a 2-part film.
It could, yes.
And that the first half seemed extremely slow for the amount of time that they've put into this film.
I think they wanted to make sure that everything was explained, and any sort of confusion that was going to be introduced in the second half was very carefully laid out, and people's motivations were understood, and that sort of thing. I had a few nits to pick. The first one being the obvious one, which is to say the whole universe would still be screwed if it wasn't for one rat standing on one button. Because Ant-Man wouldn't have come back. He wouldn't have given them the idea of time travel, and everything would have carried on as it was. So
I mean, just to say, right, apart from that bit, the whole wibbly wobbly timey wimey stuff felt like such a cop out.
That was my second criticism of the film. It spent a lot of time very specifically saying that all the things we knew about time travel from things like Back to the Future and all this sort of thing, Terminator, all that, was all wrong. And they even explained quite sensibly why the way we perceive the present as always being the present, the future as always being the future, and the past as always being the past, is wrong, and it's an incorrect way to think. And then they spent the whole rest of the film conforming to standard idea about continuity, timeline, and time travel.
I know.
It's like, guys, you just did the thing you said you weren't going to do.
You also just made a huge joke about the whole thing, and now you're doing it.
So
What the hell?
yeah, that was a bit sort of no. I think what probably happened is there was probably multiple versions of the script where they didn't do time laterally, linearly,
Right,
and
right.
then people just went, when test audiences see that, they're going to be confused as hell.
Even if you have a diagram in the film, which they did, funnily enough.
Yeah, it's the whole thing with the heartbeat machine doesn't beep when someone has a flat line. It beeps when someone's not connected to the monitoring machine. But no one is ever going to show that in a hospital drama or a TV or film which involves a hospital, because everyone knows, movie logic. The thing beeps when someone's dying. Um,
Mm-hmm.
So I think they did the same thing. They looked at it and went, okay, everyone knows how time travel's supposed to work, so we can't do this. And there are a few paradoxes introduced into it as well. Like, for example, when Cap goes back to give the stones back to where they should be, like, at what point are we going to be derailing things? Like, obviously the Tesseract has been one of the Tesseracts, because the Tesseract has now been temporarily cloned.
God damn it. I completely forgot about that bit.
Loki has got one of the Tesseracts and is off on his own gallivanting around. Presumably that must erase the events of Thor: The Dark World, Thor 2: The Dark World, because that Loki is now not in the right place in the timeline.
Yeah. And with the Tesseract.
And with a Disney Plus TV show about him, his adventures. So there we go. Wacky Loki zany adventures in time with a Tesseract.
To be fair, though, it was a good depiction of what definitely would have happened, though.
Oh yeah, it was really good. It was a really funny scene. It was very cleverly done. The way it set them up to go, even further back into the past. That was all excellent. I didn't mind that at all. It's just I want to see where Loki goes with his time stone. Oh no, space stone, isn't it? The Tesseract.
Tesseract is technically a space stone, yeah.
Yeah. So there was a few little niggles like that. One thing I did find amusing is what happens when Captain America goes back to put the Soul Stone back in its place and finds the Red Skull standing there. It's like, ooh, awkward.
Yeah, a little bit.
Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, there were, as much as I'm so far basically shitting on the film, I did thoroughly enjoy it.
Oh god, yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're the only reason we're picking up on these minor points is because compared, like, when you put it in the context of how brilliant the rest of the film was, these stand out.
Yeah.
Everything else about the film was just, for me, beat for beat perfect. I mean, the right sort of everything got fixed by timey-wimey, and then oh no it didn't, worked for me. Like, I didn't have any problem with the fact that this movie was a movie about a group of people trying to find 6 MacGuffins by using a 7th MacGuffin. I was actually absolutely fine with that. It was enjoyable. I thought the character acting was brilliant. The motivations for things was perfectly well explained. The when all the heroes and all the people, in fact, returned after the first snap, I thought that was a really awesome scene, watching the armies of the army of the Avengers deploying itself.
Oh god, like the last half an hour of the film was, worth that 2.5 hour wait of build up.
See, this was the other thing for me. I didn't even notice that it was a long film. Like, I took food and drink into the cinema, and I was so engrossed in the film, I forgot to even drink water. And then I came out of the cinema, like, when the film finished, and suddenly went, oh god, I'm really hungry. It's like, yeah, you got packets of crisps you could have been eating, but you didn't, because you were so engrossed in the film, which is great. That's I think that's a testament to just how enjoyable it was. I thought it was really, really nice to go back and revisit some other characters, like the Supreme Being or whatever. No, not Supreme Being. I can't remember, the Ancient One or whatever the character played by Tilda Swinton is.
Oh yes, the sort of devotion character. I can't
Yeah.
remember what the name was.
The Sorcerer Supreme before Doctor Strange showed up.
I'm just looking at the list of characters now. Give me 2 seconds.
Did you spot, speaking of characters, did you spot a boy looking kind of sad, standing alone at the end at Tony Stark's funeral?
I did.
Do you know who that is?
I don't.
It's the kid from Iron Man 3 who calls him the mechanic, the one whose garage he crash lands in.
Oh, is it?
It is. It's that kid, but he's grown up obviously as the years have passed. So yeah, that I thought was a really nice touch to bring him back in. What did you make of the very start of the movie with Captain Marvel just seemingly randomly turning up in one small area of space despite policing the entire universe?
Oh, I know. It's just convenient plot points. Convenient.
Well, no, because I have a theory, which is that the scene we see at the end of Captain Marvel
is the one where she's off to find.
Is the one right before that scene. Basically, she turns up. She says, "Where's Fury?" They turn around and they say, "Fury's gone. Thanos has wished half the people out of the universe. Most of our guys dying, and I don't even know where Tony Stark is."
And then she's like, "Oh, hold on, be right back."
Yeah, and then she's like, "Oh, he's in the Guardians of the Galaxy ship. I've seen that before." Zoom off, she goes and picks him up.
Yeah,
which is fairly neat for me. I don't mind that.
No, I don't mind that at all. But like, if it was just oh look, I found a needle in a haystack, then I'm a bit like, I get it, you're a superhero and all, but come on, like that's an astronomically slim chance you would find that. It's
an amazing increase in power level for the Marvel Comics universe. I know we spoke about this when we talked about the Captain Marvel movie, but when you see her just like Supermaning it and smashing the living crap out of an entire planet-killing spaceship.
Oh, what? Just goes straight through? Lol.
Yeah,
bye.
she flies straight through it. Lol.
And I'm just in my head. I was just like, oh, so she could have just done this by herself. Don't need the rest of them.
Yeah, she probably could have just beat Thanos up by herself.
She wasn't wished away. She's fine.
No, she did struggle in a fight against Thanos though, which is pretty.
Oh yeah, that was a really interesting point. Are we saying that Captain Marvel is stronger than Thanos plus all the Infinity Stones?
Oh no, she's not stronger than, because he was winning in that battle. But I think she can hold her own against Thanos and all the Infinity Stones. That's
because he even had to take one out, and that was a weird bit. Like he took one of them out.
Well, I think the reason they had to do that so that we understood that these stones could easily be removed, and so when Captain America was then 20 seconds later seen pulling all of them off and putting them onto his glove, we sort of accepted that was a thing that could happen. But yeah, that's what I was taking away from that. I very much think that Marvel execs are sitting in their high towers going, "Oh, you liked that Black Widow character, did you? Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, you like strong female heroes, do you? All right. Okay. Yeah. Fine. So you'd like us to make a Black Widow movie? Would you give her own movie? Yeah. Nah. Sorry. Nope. Dead. Definitely.
I mean, there is still a whole thing saying that there is going to be a Black Widow film.
Yeah, but
it's not.
How are they going to do that?
Yeah, I know.
If they do a prequel without Scarlett Johansson, it's not really going to feel like a Black Widow film. And if they magic her back to life, if they were going to magic her back to life anyway, then they wouldn't have put the explicit line in of Hulk saying, "Even when I had the gauntlet, I couldn't bring her back."
I think the way that I would play that is like, I would use Black Widow as a code name and just go back to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh, interesting. Okay,
just to the whole sort of thing with is it the 007 thing's been announced that the new, I can't remember who it is. It's going to kill me. Who the fuck is that now? The new Bond, but that whole, it's a code name, right?
Yeah.
because her name they don't really refer to her as Black Widow. It's Nat. So it's the person, not the name.
Well, that's the thing then, because if they do that and they quote unquote give us a Black Widow movie, but it's not Scarlett Johansson, I think people are going to be annoyed about that.
Probably, but then if they hadn't seen Endgame, then it's their own fault.
So yes, there's that. What did you make of Intelligent Hulk?
I liked it. I kind of liked the whole thing where they just CGI'd Mark Ruffalo's face onto a Hulk body.
That was really well done as well, actually. I didn't even really notice that it was a sort of CG face.
Yeah. I kind of like the whole thing where he's like, oh, well, now that half the world's dead, I might as well, throw caution to the wind and just say, well, fuck that then. And I was like, I'm just going to be me. It's like, yeah, you do you do that.
I loved the bit where they're trying to get someone to help them with the time travel thing, and they say like Tony won't do it, so they're like, well, we're just going to have to find a bigger brain, and Ant-Man's like, a bigger brain than his, and then
literal brain.
Yeah, and then the very next scene is Bruce Banner going, this really isn't my field of expertise, guys.
He just looks so clumsy.
Yeah, I mean, it was quite amusing because, like, his thing is more in radiology and biology. It's he's very brilliant at everything, but still, it's like Tony's the physicist.
Yeah, I get that he's a genius and everything, but like, didn't they just literally turn up and said it's possible to do the thing, and he's like, no, I'm not going to do it, and then it's implied that evening he's like, I figured it out, but in reality it's probably weeks of just random thought, isn't it?
Yeah, I've heard this theory that the film makes it look like he went away and 20 minutes later came up with the answer, and I can kind of see that from the way it was edited, but I do think it's supposed to imply that he spent weeks secretly working on this after his family go to bed.
Yeah,
and then he just has the breakthrough. Because it looks like, the computer model that he's using to simulate results, it looked like if you see the screen, it looks like there's been dozens and dozens of earlier attempts, and it just happens to be this one that's worked. So I suspect he's supposed to have been at this for several weeks. Speaking of, there is a timeline discrepancy in there, because the film starts, we see some action, and then we see 5 years later, and Ant-Man gets out of the quantum realm, and he meets his daughter. His daughter looks like she's aged 15 years, because the actress has gone from like a 7-year-old to a 20-year-old. So that's weird. But then when all the people come back, they come back, still 5 years later. So they don't returns to the point in which the snap happened. So when Peter meets up with his buddy in school, either Peter should be the buddy should be 5 years older than Peter, or if they were both dusted away, then they are now presumably in the class that they should have been, but 5 years have gone past from so all of their not colleagues,
classmates,
their classmates have graduated and have gone on to college now. I mean, can we see that some of that explained in Far From Home? Because that sounds like it really could do with it being addressed.
Do you think they're going to do that?
I don't. I feel like they're not. I think they're going to push that everything's gone back to normal. Because, like, for a start, 5 years went by, the world became quite, a bit of a post-apocalyptic. Well, it wasn't apocalyptic, but post-major crisis. There's dirt, there's trash on the streets, there's crashed vehicles that have been left unattended. People are either like moving out to live in the wilderness away from people, or living in crumbling, downtrodden cities because there's half the population of the planet's gone, so there's not enough people to maintain the infrastructure. And then yet Far From Home is set when apparently international European travel from America is perfectly accessible again to high schools.
Yeah, I mean, there's the whole thing in the trailer with that where he's like, he's going through customs.
Yeah,
and he's like, my suit's still out there packed by my aunt, who was apparently fine.
Mm.
And then the joke is that he's trying to smuggle fruit, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, oh, okay, we're doing that, are we? Okay.
The Far From Home's another question mark. I think if anything, I think it marks the last film of Phase 4.
Yes, officially it does.
Yeah.
There's this whole thing on Wikipedia about other projects, which is basically just the rumor mill of all the rest of them.
Right.
But officially, this is Far From Home is the last one in this set, as it were, which has been like 11 years worth of films.
Yeah, 22 films in total, apparently. So there you go.
So, pretty good. Yeah. Can I just mention that my two favourite performances in this film were by Paul Rudd and Chris Hemsworth.
Chris Hemsworth was amazing.
Right?
Who does Paul Rudd play?
He's Ant-Man.
Yeah, that was a very good turn as well. Yeah, I've seen quite a funny name doing the rounds, which is Thor: God of Thunder.
Nice. Can we just talk about the scene where he's found again after hiding out? And he's got his buddies.
Yep.
And they're playing Fortnite. And one of them's just like, "Oi, Thor, this guy called me a dickhead." Oh,
I love the it's not been the same since Thanos, and the rock alien Norwegian accent in the background. It's like, yeah, we don't actually talk about that. The TV.
We don't mention that name in this house. And I like that they're just binge eating pizza, and I'm just like, I didn't even know that thing had a mouth.
I quite liked the way that they committed to it, and Thor was overweight Thor the whole movie. He didn't just suddenly try to click his fingers and transform.
Oh yeah, I was very, very happy with that because it led to so many good moments, especially when he's sent to get one of the stones and he runs into his mum.
Yeah,
and she's
I can't tell.
Automatically, like, you're not my Thor. What?
You're not my Thor because you're.
It's just like the future's not been kind to you. Oh.
I was a little bit. I was a little bit confused that I'm not confused. That's not the right word. It seemed a little too convenient that Captain America could suddenly.
Oh, I know.
Despite the fact that he tried before of the party and it didn't work.
That's probably the reason. It's like you've been deemed worthy at this time because now you're trying to save the universe and right the wrong.
Oh, that's true. That works.
Like restore balance
as well, don't they?
Sorry?
Someone else picks up the hammer as well, don't they? Does Captain Marvel pick up the hammer at one point?
No, it's just Captain America.
Oh, okay. I seem to remember one of the female characters picks it up. Don't know where I've got that from.
I can't. I'm going to look that up. I don't think that happened unless that was. Wasn't Pegasus Woman, was it?
Oh, it might have been. That would also make sense because she is an Asgardian as well.
Yeah.
Oh, how much do you want to see Asgardians of the Galaxy as the next film?
What, as part 3?
Yeah, part 3 by James Gunn, Asgardians of the Galaxy.
Because now Thor is there.
Yes.
And they're like, oh, there's the sort of the fun / really awkward scene where with Thor and Star-Lord, yeah, and just like, I'm in charge. Yeah, we know who's in charge. Get it? Because we don't.
I loved the little references that they made to themselves. So when people are observing Star-Lord back in the original film, dancing his way through a cave.
Oh, yes!
Everyone's just looks at him like, so he's a bit of a dick then.
Yeah, and wasn't the line, well, it's basically this or a talking tree?
Yes, that was the reveal at the end of the film. I quite liked the butt of America joke as well. That was pretty good.
Oh yeah, the whole
Captain America has the
fights himself from the past, and then the old quote unquote Captain America falls down face first, and then the other Captain America is just staring at his own ass. Like, oh, okay,
Lol.
Yeah, exactly.
Very much liked the Captain America and Thor moment where they're both swinging Thor's hammer at people, and Captain America gets Stormbreaker, the large hammer axe, and Thor's just takes it off him like, no, you get the small one.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, so that's one of the other things I thought about this film is they balanced the humor really well, considering how they could have gone too silly and ruined it, or too serious and made it.
Well, that's why I really liked Ant-Man. Put like Ant-Man in this one, because essentially, in the first bit where they're all doom and gloom because oh shit, he actually did it. Is there a way to fix this? And then suddenly the rat bit happens, and then Paul Rudd's got a sign pointing at a camera saying "help." It's like, oh, okay. So because the van is like sort of locked right into the center of the storage container, and you just think, how on earth was that put there in the first place like that?
Yeah.
And how did rats get into it? Or a single rat, I should say.
Yeah. The thing that then confused me is presumably they moved it from the storage container in order to work on it and take the technology from that to make the new time machine. So why, when Thanos attacks and starts smashing things up, is it in the middle of an open field behind enemy lines, as it were?
Oh, it's not. It's not.
Is it not?
Technically, it's not because because Ant-Man drove it to the Avengers facility.
Oh, of course,
and the Avengers facility gets blown up, so it gets in rubble. So that's where it is.
Oh, I'd forgotten he drives it out of the storage.
Because they have that whole scene where Nat's looking at the camera, the CCTV, and it's like, that's now, isn't it? That's happening right now. And it's just him shouting. It's like, oh, I don't know if you remember me, and it's just him and the van.
Yeah. Other little touches I really liked. War Machine starts off in his black and silver armor, and then by the final battle, he's switched to an upgraded version of his Iron Patriot armor.
Oh,
which I thought was quite nice.
If we're talking about little tiny touches, Thor drinks Iron Brew.
Does he?
Yeah,
I didn't see that.
There's a little bit where the others are playing Fortnite. Thor's drinking, and he's on a little table.
He's drinking beer, though.
Yeah, he's drinking beer, but there's a windowsill. And right at the bottom is a half-empty bottle of Iron Brew.
See, if that was product placement, it didn't work because I didn't see it.
But for me, that means he's the mighty Thor and has it right.
Yes, he must drink his Iron Brew made from girders.
Exactly.
I'm sending. Do they even know what Iron Brew is in America?
Oh yeah, people have there's lots of YouTube videos of Americans trying British drinks.
Oh right, okay.
So it is a thing, and I've sent you a link just so you can see it.
Oh right, yes.
And it's
cool.
As product placements go, with the whole thing where it's a Scottish product in a Scottish place, that's very good for this for the Scottish Film Board or whatever it's called.
Mm. It's that was confusing actually, where New Asgard was supposed to have been founded, because it looked very much like sort of Scandinavian land part of the world, but
Shetlands is Scandinavian.
Yes, a lot of people have said it's in all sorts of different locations. So.
Shetland is technically more aligned to Scandinavia than it is to Scotland, based on history, because it's where the Vikings set sail from the Shetlands to Canada, and to Iceland and all that. So there's a lot of history about Shetland, and also the fact that this is where my geography nerd buff kicks in. The flag of Shetland is a Norwegian cross, but in white and blue.
Oh, okay.
So it's very, very much a Scandinavian place.
There you go.
Yes,
Learn something new.
you do.
Going back to our theory that Captain Marvel is told, go get Tony Stark. That would also make more sense when you consider the fact that when she just flies down carrying a giant spaceship, even Ant-Man isn't surprised by this.
Yeah.
So presumably they knew that's what she was going to do and come back with it.
Well, considering also that Ant-Man is like, exponentially growing at whim because he's like a fucking like skyscraper at the end. Like he probably could have done that himself. Just pick it up and throw it.
What did you think about future? Not Gamora. Who's the other one?
Nebula.
Future Nebula shooting past Nebula and having no apparent consequences from it.
Oh, I know.
Well, like the whole movie. The beginning of the movie, you say that time doesn't work the way we know about paradoxes and stuff. All through the movie, you act like it absolutely does, and then right at the end of the movie, it once again doesn't.
Wibbly wobbly.
Yes. Have a position on time travel and stick to it, please.
To be fair, Nebula's character in that second half of the film really pissed me off a lot.
Did she?
Yeah, because I'm just like, oh, for goodness sake. Like, this is ridiculous. Just get Gamora to do it.
I did think it was quite cool how the idea about having the fact that there's two of her in the same time meant that the network in her brain that presumably runs on a discrete frequency suddenly had both brains on it at the same time. I thought that was quite clever.
Well, I guess if that hadn't have been the way to do it, they would never have had the link that Thanos was like, oh, they're doing time shit.
Yeah, exactly.
So there had to be a way for them to sneak the whole thing. It's like, oh, but they're like, was it 5 years apart or more?
Yeah, it
might have been more
presumably
at that point.
Yeah, presumably the whole of Avengers 1 didn't happen now because that Thanos, before it gets to that Thanos, is the one that's dusted when he goes to the future. So that's again kind of an amazing paradox you've got going on there.
Yeah, because within the first sort of 20 minutes, it's a sort of like the Thanos that did the deed. Is harshly? No, it's not really. Deserved is the word, but it's also extremely harsh of what happened.
Well, no, I think deserved is perfectly accurate.
And then they have Thanos. Are we calling him original Thanos? Which one was the one at the end?
I guess it was original Thanos at the end, or pre-original Thanos at the end.
Pre-divergent Thanos. There we go. It was the one that sort of found the demise again early, which is interesting because in the whole thing with the going backwards and scanning the brain, the memories and all that, was saying like, he had the vision of his own death, but in the end, it wasn't his death. It was a different Thanos' death. Yeah.
Well, but maybe they both count as the same thing.
Well, at that point, they do. They are the same person's death, but divergent death. Which again, timey-wimey.
So, going off of timey-wimey, did you clock the cameo by Joe Russo, the director?
At the end?
No. So, well, yes, kind of towards the end, yeah. So when no, actually, I don't think it is towards the end. I think it's quite close to the beginning. Actually, it's when Captain America Steve Rogers is at a support group.
Oh no, yeah, and he's grieving. That's right. Yeah, no, that is him, isn't it?
It is him, and he also plays a just coincidentally gay character, and no one makes a big deal out of it. It's just like, oh, the first.
It's the first time an openly homosexual character has been portrayed in an MCU film.
Yes, exactly. And they didn't make a song and dance over it. I thought that was really quite nice. It was just like, yeah, everyone's fine with this. This is perfectly normal part of life.
Did you also
apparently
see the Stan Lee cameo?
I did, yes. Although I
almost
didn't miss
missed
it, but I
it.
almost couldn't tell it was
Yeah,
him.
because it was the whole digitally reverse age thing.
Yeah. So yeah, that was slightly difficult. But yeah, it worked. Didn't mind that too much.
Which is a shame, really, because this is the whole, unless they manage to somehow put Stan Lee into the Spider-Man film, then this was his last one, right? Because we had
I think I'd heard this one is the last one.
Okay,
Yeah.
because I thought honestly that the Captain Marvel one would have been the last one.
No, I'd heard quite early on that there's one more and this was the last one. So going back to the therapy room scene, apparently Jim Starlin also makes a appearance in a cameo in that, and he's the writer that wrote the original Infinity Stone story.
Oh, nice!
So that's quite cool. Yeah.
So, can we just talk about that kind of awesome and really weird 30 seconds that Doctor Strange has with Tony Stark during the middle of the last scene or towards the end of the film?
Okay.
Where he's sort of like, oh, so are we going to win this one? And he's like, yeah, I can't tell you.
And then he tells
him.
Towards the end.
Yeah.
So he tells him anyway.
He tells him anyway, right? And then also he obviously kind of knew what was going to happen.
I think that's kind of the reason he says, I can't, if I tell you it won't happen, because he would basically have to say, we win this by you get the stones and kill yourself, basically. And Tony Stark might have, if he'd known about that for more than the last sort of 20 seconds when it seemed like a good idea, he might have been putting it off or subconsciously, sabotaging himself from it or anything like that.
Yeah. Although then again, it goes to the whole Destiny film thing, doesn't it? Because it's like, oh, this is sort of like the I hate saying that, like a group of characters, he's the main one, but he is. But it's like the sacrificial lamb in the film, because he's like, I've already experienced everything I could ever have wanted, because he's had 5 years of having a family.
That and the fact that the actor costs way too much now to put on the screen.
I mean, yeah, but in a canonical way, in a canonical way to explain it.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't mind that too much. I felt like it was a sort of quite sensible in character thing to do. It showed his story arc from sort of selfish billionaire through to, what's the word? Not philanthropist, although he is a philanthropist, but he's a self-sacrificing hero sort of thing. So that was the kind of his long story arc played out.
Yeah,
only took 22 films.
Only.
One of the things that everyone seems to have overlooked is, which is fair enough to be honest, is that Hawkeye was not playing Hawkeye in that. He was in his appearance as his character from the comic books, Ronan.
Oh. Yeah.
So that was quite cool.
Yeah, it says, I'm just looking at the cast listing on Wikipedia. Barton has a new outfit in this film visually similar to that of Ronin, which is true. I guess that's also to do with the whole loss thing. It was a visual reference to, look what happened to me.
Yeah.
And I'm out for a vengeance, because, that's kind of the shtick.
Oh, can I just say I really loved the Captain America elevator fight part 2.
Oh yeah, okay.
Where they're all in the lift. You're like, oh, it's going to go into that awesome fight scene where he beats the crap out of everybody, and then he just leans in and goes, "Hail Hydra!" And they go, "Oh right, you're our side." Hand him the case,
and then he's like, smirk. Yeah, because it's funny what hindsight can do. Not very many people get the opportunity to enact hindsight before something happens. So
yeah. I thought that was very very cute because it was we've learnt since that Hydra was everyone we thought was Shield was actually Hydra, so why not?
Yeah, why not confuse the audience even more? No.
Yeah.
Who was your? I've already mentioned my two standout performances. For you, who were your two for this film?
I think I have to say Tony Stark because I think Downey Jr. he's changed that character slightly every time we've seen him.
Yeah,
and brought in loads of I don't know more nuances to the character and a lot more connections. Like his whole thing about in the end he's motivated to do such stuff because he feels like he lost Spider-Man and like he's almost like a son to him. I thought that was nice. And my second one, probably, unfortunately, I can't remember the character's name, but the bald-headed head of security for Prince T'Challa. She's in it actually quite a lot throughout the movie, and although she doesn't do anything sort of straight up stand out and big and flashy, she's just always the right character to have in those scenes each time you see her.
Okoye.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think I was really impressed with that. Like they kept that connection to Wakanda there, even though obviously the prince the king, I should say, had already been dusted from earlier on. One thing I did want to talk about: why did Tony Stark build an insta-kill mode into Spider-Man's suit that just turns him into a total badass?
Oh, I know.
Just stabbing people left and right. It's like, what? When did you think, assuming you didn't know we were going to have an invasion by aliens, when did you think that was a good thing to give a teenage boy?
And also, like, when they must have had a moment where they talked about that. Because like that doesn't just happen by accident, because that's not the time that happens. He must have accidentally killed someone before to know that was a thing, right? Or in my mind, like he's accidentally done something and someone's like lost an arm, right? That's the only way I can think of it, because the Peter Parker character that we know in this universe is a little bit of an idiot. It's not exactly the smartest one, is he?
Yeah. It's all fine until Peter Parker activates insta-kill mode. So going back to where we started, actually, because I remember you said you thought that the last scene could have been handled better. I had a real moment of fear when I realized who was sitting on that bench, and I was like, "Oh no, they're going to pan the camera around, and it's going to be an absolutely awful aging makeup / CG." And it's going to be, Professor X at the end of Wolverine all over again, and it's just going to ruin the whole film. And I was so very relieved that actually it was a fantastic piece of special effects that really did make him look like he was genuinely in his late 80s.
Yeah. I just like the little touch where it was like, where Sam looks at the ring and says, "So are you going to tell me about her?" And obviously we all know who it is. And he's just like, you know what? Story for another time, sort of thing. Because it's sort of always implied that that's who he would have spent his life with all the way through, right?
Yeah, but I mean, as if Falcon can't guess who he probably married.
No, that's probably the joke. Were you surprised it was Sam, though? That got the shield?
No, I wasn't, because in the comics he does give the shield to Falcon, and Falcon does have a run as quote unquote Black Captain.
So it's just them catching up to comic books.
It is, it's absolutely canon, which I also think is brilliant, because it's going to cause so much butthurt on Twitter with people going, "Oh, you can't make Captain America
it's like,
black."
Mate, look at
and then
comics.
They can just turn around and yeah, exactly. Read a comic. They already did. We're just doing exactly what's in the comics.
Just catching up. Like, stop it. Stop complaining. Yeah.
So yes. Did you have any final things that you wanted to bring up before we sort of round this?
Oh, just the whole femme fatale moment.
Oh yeah,
amazing.
that was amazing. I did have a moment actually in the cinema where I was like, I saw it, I was like, oh, this is a bit forced, isn't it? And then another part of my brain went, one of them's on a winged
One of them's
horse. Just deal
Pegasus.
with it.
No, when in the cinema, when I was at the cinema and it was packed and everyone was like clapping, going yes. Like that happened.
Yeah. We had a few moments like that when people just spontaneously applauded the screen. So yeah, that was fantastic. I did enjoy that.
Yeah, good time all round, I think.
It was fantastic. I very much enjoyed that film. Would you say it's 5 out of 5?
I'd give it a 4.5 out of 5, just because of the pace for some of it. That's all.
I think I'd have to do the same. My biggest, not the pace. The pace I didn't mind too much. It was the inconsistent timey wimey.
Oh yeah, okay, let's go with that. And also with the fact that it's a 3-hour long film that could have been explained in maybe 2.5. But that's just because of my back.
Well, fair enough. So yeah, I know a lot of people are going to rewatch it. I think I don't know if I will,
I might do the whole thing that a lot of cinemas here did, the midnight showing where they showed at 10 o'clock, they showed Infinity War first. And then they went straight into the one at midnight. So it timed up with the whole release thing. Right.
I think I might watch Infinity War and then go and see it again straight after, like not on the same day, but when it's really still fresh in my mind.
Connect the dots and stuff. Yeah,
exactly.
Cool.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, do let us know what you thought of it. What you thought of Avengers Endgame and the two films as a one piece of storytelling. You can get in touch with us at TGC Show on Twitter. That is the easiest way for you to give us your views, your reviews, your opinions, and follow the show.
Yes.
Robbie, how can people find you on the Twitters?
You can find me at Robbie_Glow on Twitter.
You can find me at RZBG, and you can find the show at vognetwork.com/the-geek-card, where we are not live every Thursday, exclusively on Vog Network, and then we are more publicly available on Friday. And that will just about do it for the show, except, of course, to issue a very special, one time only, if you just hand over your geek cards there, thank you, a very special, one time only, Avengers Endgame End Stamp. So if you're all ready, there we go. Fantastic. Your Avengers, your geek card has been Avengers stamped, and that will do it for us this week. So bye-bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to The Geek Card with your hosts, Razerbug and Robbie Glow. You can find The Geek Card wherever fine podcasts are found and on the web at thegeekcard.podbean.com. The Geek Card is a proud member of the Voice of Geeks Network, where you can find other amazing podcasts like Orange Lounge Radio, Starboard Power Coupling, and Girls Gone Wow. Find out more at www.vognetwork.com.